cut to the chase. You're familiar with Streaks, correct?
That Drake? Yeah, what about it?
Let's just say his skills had become a concern. But this childish festival is not my part of the sandbox. Help me out and I'll make it worth your while.
Hi, we're back again in Forza Horizon 6. One of the main selling points of this game is the abundance of choice in cars. But can you beat it with only blue cars though? In the last time, we got to flex the best car in the world, celebrate K-cars within Forza Horizon, and 1v1 a giant robot. So far, it was a successful run, but the blue wristband was just a start. There's still a long way to go towards that golden wristband. So, without further ado, it's time to dive deeper into the festival. We start today's session from this K-car race. Before, the AutoZam managed to bring in a victory despite its unruly behavior. Now, it was apparent that this kind of handling will not do, especially not when your opponent was set to unbeatable difficulty. I mean, look at this! I cannot even climb past 7th place. This is terrible! So, with a heavy heart, I must say the AutoZam was simply not the best fit for yours truly. So, what now? Well, if the AutoZam cannot do it, we'll get the baby NSX into play. I was lucky that the Beat has a blue option in its manufacturer colors. Streaks, you might ask. This Beat and the AutoZam are similar. Both are lightweight middle-engine cars. How are you going to expect anything different? Well friend, the secret lies in the exceedingly large rear tires, capable of drowning out any signs of oversteer. Sure, without proper tuning, all this will do is increase the Beat's turning radius to that of the planet Jupiter. So, after a little bit of adjustment, I returned to Irokawa for a rematch. While I felt a bit of understeer in the beginning, the amount of grip this Beat has was more than enough to compensate. With this tune, you have to do something so egregiously stupid to get this car sliding, let alone spinning out. This smooth handling had gotten me several positions early. I'm no professional when it comes to tuning, but I believe I've struck gold with this one. But my race was still far from over. Not to mention, I was still half a grid away from total victory. Saying how short this race was going to be, every position counts. So, after yet another superior cornering, I stuck towards the other Beat and effortlessly went around the hairpin. Thanks to the slipstream, I got Hoki Hoshi traveling in panic. Obviously, that's just his driver lookalike, as the real Hoki will definitely rip me a new one in this game. Despite the Beat's astounding grip, the first large corner remained troublesome for some reason. But as long as I can make it up on the following sections, I should stand a fighting chance in this race. While I had a spot on the podium, there was only one lap left, and Albert had entered the zone, making him even more difficult to capture. But I remained resolute. After all, there was one more card I could play. The slight imperfection on the chicane was the biggest hole in the wall that I could exploit. With minimal braking and maximum thrust in the Beat, I did just that. Finally, P1 at hand. While Albert had his last stand on the final hairpin, my skills and the Beat's impeccable grip allowed us to claim the best line and secured victory. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, this is it, the first unbeatable victory of the run. A proper evidence that even the hardest difficulty this game can offer was in fact beatable. While sweet, this win alone was nowhere near enough to earn me a chance in the next Horizon rush. Next up was several races done off the road. With the blue Evo I've gotten from a playlist, I managed to turn those races into fun time happy hour. However, the good times was brought to an abrupt end once I found an unlimited off-road event. See, the Evo was of the modern rally category, therefore I cannot use it for this race. However, the choices available in the auto show are mostly off limits. The majority of them, after all, do not come with a blue color off the factory. The Ford F-250, no factory blue, no bueno. Any of the trophy trucks, which was my go-to in Horizon 5? Absolutely not. Not even the Trailcat was viable, as its only manufacturer color is green. And I absolutely refuse to be confined into this thing. It looks like a buggy. I want nothing to do with buggies in Forza Horizon games. Well, in off-road anyway. Alright, there is the fastball racing truck, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to commit that much for an off-roader. But I need to join and win that race if I were to unlock the next Horizon rush for the next wristband. What now? Instead of anything the auto show had offered, I opted for a car so unique, I was willing to commit big, even if it was built for the off-road. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the biggest BRZ you've ever seen, the Subaru BRZ Forza Edition. Powered by a V8, comes prepared with off-road tires, ready to bring absolute domination on the rough beaten path. And the best thing, it can be found right in here, on this lot, and it's yours for a low price of 450 grand. While it's even more expensive than the Blue Trophy truck, I did not regret my purchase. The BRZ was absolutely unstoppable. Mind you, the driver errors were set to unbeatable level, yet I'm clearing them so easily, I can no longer see them on a minimap. Now, with even more victories in my belt, the Horizon Rush drew nearer. But there was one final race between me and the next step in the progression. It's held on the road, yes. The caveat is, you gotta have a supercar at A-class level to enter. Now, you see, that class restriction alone had reduced our options to a fifth of its roster. Not to mention, all but two of them are way out of the budget. They reduced our options to these: a C8 Corvette and a Porsche 911 GT3. Technically, these two are valid options for the run, but I don't wanna. The C8 feels weak. At least that's my experience of using this car in Forza Horizon 5. I don't think this Corvette could win the upcoming race. And don't get me started on the Porsche. In my humblest opinion, this car would feel better at home in a sports class. So, in conclusion, the auto show cannot help, and the only supercar I got is this NC1 that's well past the required class anyway. What now? Yeah, okay. With what limited clue that I had, I looked all over Nangan, especially areas near the sea. It took so long to finally get the general area right. For your reference, it was evening in-game when I started looking. And look at the skies when I finally found that fabled car.
Looking forward to seeing what it can do. If it was mine, I'd be taking this on one huge Japan road trip.
It feels familiar, as if I've raced in this exact car before. But how can that be? Sure, back in Gran Turismo I used a Ford GT, but this cannot be that same car, can it? Regardless of that, this car is now our weapon of choice to take on that supercar race. Ah, Narajuku. Here is where all that preparation will come to bear fruit. And I refuse to have it all ruined by some upstart Corvette. Anyways, with a layout like this, you'd want to be as careful as possible, but not without compromising the ideal racing line. For the first set of corners, all I needed to do was to claim the innermost lane for myself while letting the supercar do the rest. Before I knew it, P3 was at hand. But despite my best efforts, the gap between us all did not change. That was quite worrying, not to mention that one of the Corvette's inability to process the chicane properly had affected my driving as well. In some way, you can blame whichever car that hit me for that debacle. While I got an early win this time, there was no excuse to let my guard down until the race was done. Surprisingly, the Corvettes, which I had deemed as slow and weak, was the ones keeping me on the ropes. They have effectively forced me to keep driving to my absolute limit. And not only were my abilities were pushed to the absolute test, I had to do all that with this wild ride, which I had yet to spend a considerable amount of time to get acquainted with its quirks. But somehow, I feel I could entrust all of me towards this car. So, I bravely took the ideal yet risky lines. While there was a ding on the final lap chicane, that did not stop me from keeping my position. And I believe that our performance on the final corner was more than enough to make up for that mistake. This level of driving, combined with the absolute superiority that is the Ford GT, had allowed me to claim victory. With the race at Narajuku won, it was finally time to claim the next wristband through another Horizon Rush event. From the top of this chilling mountain, the fate of the factory blue-only run will be decided. As the Peugeot barreled down the ramp, I prepared myself to face the coldest challenge I've ever faced in this run. And once I break that barrier, the test begins. First, your accuracy is put on trial. Not only you need to remain in control of the speeding machine, you will also need to bring this wild Peugeot through each gate like sewing through a needle or being high on adrenaline. While I managed to prove my words down this hill, tragedy struck, and I really cannot find an explanation for this weird phenomenon either. My rhythm was disturbed, this wobbling was far from ideal, but at this point, I gotta work with what I had. Once I got my car back under control, we were immediately faced with another challenge. In here, You will need to navigate through a series of claustrophobic corners. Greed will be your downfall here, as every move you make here will need to be calculated. But it was exactly in a place like this I thrived. In the slower sections, I had more time to measure and calculate every single decision. Precision was the name of the game, and it was exactly what Gran Turismo had trained me for. The walls in the ice lakes are nowhere as strict, but you gotta remember, driving on ice is actually a torture method if you have no idea what you're doing. But here's the secret. Instead of treating the ice as an obstacle, you should see the ice as a tool. And that's exactly what I did. With this clean transition in between the terrains, I managed my way through this section cleanly, which had resulted in an even bigger momentum for the next section. And before we knew it, we were back in familiar territory. Just like the previous Horizon Rush, the final section will test all of your skills at once, mainly your accuracy. But compared to the absolute brutality that was the platform plaza and the manic speeds in the slalom, this was the victory lap section for me. And while imperfect, I still could find his performance as decent. And it shows. Ranked 16,000 out of hundreds of thousands of players. During the time of the recording anyway. And that was the purple wristband at hand, a sign that we had once again reached new heights in our journey through the festival.
How? Who found the car?
Perhaps it went back to its rightful owner.
I really should have burned that garage down. At that time to steal his cars. Useless!
Can you really stop him? He took his car back and you're throwing a tantrum.
No, shut up! I got this! You just worry about your little kingdom or whatever.